So I wanted to talk a little bit about my strategy for downwinding, which I'm not good at downwinding, and learning to downwind.
That's my topic. I got it. Remind me that I had it.
But your topic is that I'm not good at downwinding?
No, but sort of.
Should write it on the board, like what your next topic is. Yeah. All right. I wanted to use the foil drive to learn how to read the bumps. Instead of going out on a jet ski or tow ups or whatever, I'm using the foil drive so that every time you do a run, I can jump in the water with you, I can get up on foil, and I can just practice reading the bumps.
Right.
But I think there's a time and a place, I've discovered, there is a definite time and a place to use the foil drive, and there's a time to just like leave it home and pull the paddle out and go through it. Because
I'm glad you're saying this because I've been thinking it, but I didn't want to break your heart.
Well, so I'm going to La Ventana in 2 weeks. And so I was like, how many downwinders? I'm going to get a handful of downwinders with the foil drive before I go to La Ventana. I'm not bringing the foil drive to La Ventana. So I'm like, okay, I'll have to like cut myself off and then just try to downwind in LV. Mm-hmm. But then coming back, I don't know, if it's small and maybe I'm not sure I can get up with the paddle, so maybe I just use the foil drive just to continue learning how to read the bumps. But when it gets big and it's crazy, if you have a lot of wind, I think it's way better to just go out there with the paddle, because you were saying it was pretty intense dropping in on those head high bombs, or well over head high.
Yeah.
With an 80 centimeter mast and no motor pod.
Full length.
Yeah. And a smooth board bottom, right?
Right.
So
I did touch down a couple times.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while you're just flying.
Skip off and I'm good. Yeah.
So I'm riding with the 75 centimeter mast.
Which you're typically on an 85.
Right, but it was out on demo.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of people don't have.
But even with an 85, that's
even
still
with
not
it, it's
much.
not that much.
Right.
And a lot of people don't have an 85. They're just 75 centimeter riders. So you got 75 centimeter mast, the foil drive on there, which is like 6 inches. The center of the motor pod is like 6 inches below the mast plate. Mm-hmm. But between the mast plate and the board, you've got this big battery pack. So if the motor pod touches down,
you have what, like 10 inches, maybe more.
A foot.
Oh, because I'm thinking the battery,
from the wing to the
battery pod.
10 inches below the board.
So like from board until it's clear,
I got to be 10 inches away from the bottom of my board.
It's probably 10 to 14 inches, yeah?
Right.
Right.
And then after that, I've got 16 inches or so to foil, but that's not much.
And you can't even use that full 16 inches. Because you're
breaching if you turn.
Yeah. You need to keep that space.
It's a very tight window.
You give yourself a really small window.
Very tight.
Right.
And so, if you're on a 32-inch mast, you have all 32 inches to work with.
Right.
So I found it really tough. There were a couple times where I was burning down the face of a wave, and I felt incredibly, just lit on that foil. Mm-hmm. And thought I was going to just keep shooting through the gates, passing up all these bumps. I was on fire.
Right.
And then all of a sudden a side wave would come and grab my motor pod and just...
which I've seen. I've seen that happen to you a lot. And it kills me to watch it because I see you, and I see you taking the right line, and I see you linking, not linking bumps, but the wormholes, right?
Yeah, doing the right thing.
Like Kalama calls, the wormholes, and going from bump to bump with minimal pumping. And I'm like,
you're doing it.
He's got it. He's a downwinder. And then that stupid motor pod, like you said, a side wave, or not even a side wave. Sometimes it's just going from the back of one through the next one.
Right.
And in your mind as a foiler, you're trying to stay low to give yourself room for going through that.
And you're trying to always be descending height so that you can accelerate.
Right. Yeah. And then that motor pod hits, and it's just like quicksand. And then
now you're on the back of the wave. You can't make it through it, so you try to pump to the side. Yeah. So I'm noticing that there are a few guys that can't downwind or want to down. My skill level, right? Steve Shapiro.
Steven.
Yeah, but Steve Shapiro uses the foil drive to teach him. And then a couple other guys that are like, the foil drive is going to be my ticket to learning this downwind thing. And I think very quickly after you learn to read the bumps or see them a small amount, the foil drive is holding you back.
It's a hindrance.
I've done the foil drive. That was my 5th time on the
Right.
foil drive yesterday, and I may have done better without it.
So this actually is perfect. This brings me into my next topic that I want to talk about, because it's all about the learning curve of downwinding.
Right.
And so for you took this wasn't an option when I was first learning, but the foil drive allows you to get up on foil repeatedly, quickly, easily, in any condition.
I was over 50 times I got up on foil yesterday with the foil drive. My wave count says 56 or something like that.
To get on bumps, and then to get time to like train that eye and see the way the wave breaks. And that's awesome. Like you said, I think the foil drive at a very earlier spot than where you are now becomes a hindrance. And then the other part of learning, there's like 3 real parts of downwinding that you need to learn. You need to learn how to read the waves, because it's not like anything you've ever done. Like
Right.
coming from surfing and kiteboarding to foiling, like in the surf, that was a pretty smooth transition. Like I knew how to read waves.
Right.
It's still a little different. Like you still have to retrain your eye. And if I were to go back from foiling to surfing, I would have to retrain my eye all over again, because you look at waves totally differently.
Totally different.
The timing is different.
I went surfing the other day, and I was dropping in
Traitor.
like behind the foam and stuff.
Right, yeah.
I went with my kids.
Right, okay.
You know, I got to be a good dad.
So there's reading the bump. And then there's the skill of getting up on foil. And that to me is kind of like the other 2 parts. So like for prone, when I was doing it prone, it was all about getting the good chip and then learning how to get from that chip section to the wind bumps.
Right.
And then with sup, it's all about being able to paddle up on those wind bumps. And I think what you're experiencing now with the foil drive could be totally taken out by paddling. Like I think you're good enough now at paddling to go out there and paddle yourself up repeatedly.
Yeah.
And you would have the same experience as you do with the foil drive. It'd just be a lot more physical work.
The only time I disagree with that, and I'll do it, is when in those like 10 mile an hour wind
Right.
days where you get up once, and it might take you 5 or 10 minutes to get up, but you get up once and you're done. You're gone.
Yeah.
Like there's no, you ace the run after that.
Yeah.
Where I get up after 5 or 10 minutes and I fall after 30 seconds, and then another 5 or 10 minutes of paddling. Then you know what I mean? I
Right.
fall after a minute or something. So sometimes I would understand that, but like days like yesterday where there's plenty of wind and plenty of bumps, absolutely.
And so that to me, that goes back to the, like at what point of the learning curve do you cut out foil drive? I think you're at the point now where you don't need foil drive even in those light wind days, because you're good enough to paddle up and you're good enough to read bumps. I honestly think now
So you take it away and then it might just unlock something.
Yeah. I don't think you need foil drive anymore. I think it's a helpful tool for those guys who don't want to spend the agonizing hours paddling like I did.
Well, like I did.
And like you did.
I did probably 10 or more sessions where I didn't go anywhere on foil. I may
Right.
be a lifeguard tower or 2, right? So like a couple hundred yards at a time.
Right.
But I wasn't really doing much of anything because I was just absolutely gassed by
Right.
the time I got up on foil.
A lot of that too was the gear we were using,
And the conditions.
the boards.
Yeah, we were on weird boards made by people that didn't know how to make downwind boards.
Or
Or companies that shouldn't have made
the
downwind
companies
boards.
that shouldn't have released the downwind boards that they made, and
Right.
now they no longer make foil boards, I guess. So,
May or may not be foil boards.
but yeah, I think a lot of that was that. But yeah, I think once you get to a certain point, you're 100% right. I don't think you need the foil drive anymore. I think the foil drive is a great tool for other things and for other, like that surf session we had the other day when the wave was just not barely breaking.
Oh my gosh,
The
that
foil
was
drive,
painful.
foil drive would have been the jam for that. Like you
Oh,
could have
yeah.
got up on every wave.
Every wave.
And then once you were up, you could have stayed up because there was those big
Motor back
lumps
out.
just rolling around. You could have pumped or motored or whatever.
Yep.
So I think the foil drive, especially the new Gen 2 with like how slim and accessible it is on a, like whatever board you want to use.
Yeah.
There's definitely a place for that. But I
But
think
the foil drive's not an easy button.
No.
It's not like just an easy button to like, even the first 3 sessions with the foil drive, I was just learning how to stand on the foil drive after
Right.
giving it gas,
Right.
or like, pulling the trigger and then popping up on the bump, and how to like shoot it up out of the water. And
Absolutely. It's not like I have a foil drive, now I can downwind.
right.
Or now I have a foil drive, now I can surf around forever.
Well, in case in point, first downwind session on it, I made it 1.5 miles. Second, 2 miles. Third session, I did 5 miles.
Right. To
Something
the
like
pier.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with you.
Yeah.
And then the last one, what was that?
Yesterday?
Yeah.
I think you did about 6 miles.
Yeah. Okay, 6 miles. I had enough battery.
You
I
could
would
have
have
totally
finished it,
made the
which
run.
was that 10-mile run that you're talking about, 9-10 miles from the pier to Seal Beach.
Yeah.
Would have totally made the run. But Brady caught seaweed out like 1.5 miles out.
And he was prone.
And he was prone, so he had no paddle, no whatever. So I drug him in for like a mile.
Yeah. And then, what's even better about that story?
I got back up on a wave.
No.
Oh.
You spent your battery to rescue Brady, to drag him in.
And then he pops up on a giant swell.
Yeah.
And pops up prone and then just takes off again.
And ditches you. And now here you are on the inside. And you're like, you're not having.
I can't go around.
You don't have the angle to get out around that jetty wall.
Right.
Right. And so then you just called it off
go
and
in.
had a DNF because of Brady. So thanks, Brady.
Hey, it's not his fault. But he pumped out to hang out, to ride with me and Ryan. So there was like
Right.
45 to 90 seconds in there where Brady and I and Ryan were like actually all 3 foiling together.
Well,
which was really cool.
Me, you, and Ryan were all downwinding together for like 7 seconds.
Yes, before I fell.
As I passed you, right? 'Cause
I was
you-
trying so hard to
I
get
know,
up.
I
I was
know.
like scrambling to my feet that I like fell like 3 times in a row.
I watched the Surfline cam, and you can see me come by, and you could totally tell you were frantic, like getting up, and you got up on a foil, and I heard it when I went by you. I heard the like the motor coming out of the water, and I was like, yes, Josh is doing it. And I looked back, and I thought Ryan was up. I watched the camera; he was still paddling, but yeah, I was like, let's go as we went by. Like,
I should have seen you coming. I thought you were gonna stop. I thought you were
not.
gonna sit down.
Absolutely not.
Well, you could have. You would have
Absolutely
got
not.
up.
I know
But
I could have.
I thought you were gonna stop, so I just was like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Hey, bye."
See ya.
So then I'm like, "Oh shoot, I gotta go catch him, or
Yeah.
I won't be able to catch up."
My intention and the game plan that we loosely drew up before was I was going to stop and sit down. And then
Then you're like, "I'm gonna ace
I'm going to
this
ace
run,"
this thing.
and you're like, "So I'm not
yeah,
gonna
it's like,
stop."
screw these guys. They can get up and they can catch me. And I also, in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, I'm on a slower foil than they should be able to keep up. But as we talked about in our last little chat, I don't think the foil speed matters as much. So
Yeah. Foil speed matters when the bumps get overhead high.
yeah.
Then you want a foil that's going to release enough to let you foil comfortably through
That's
that
true.
size range.
Yeah.
Also, foil speed tends to play a factor when you have 16 inches of mass to work with.
Yeah, when you have
And
to, you have to like,
You're throttling
Right.
this tiny little mast size.
right.
So bottom line, if you want to get a foil drive and downwind, it's probably great for ultra light wind downwinding. When you probably can't get up and you want to go do a run and practice and goof around.
It's great for entry.
Yeah.
Like a point of entry if you're looking to get started.
But I would still do it if it's like a no-winder.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, the wind just shut off. I'm like, dude, I'll just grab the foil drive and go play around. Have
Even
fun.
if it's nuking, like from nuking to light wind, when you're first starting, foil drive is
Game changer.
It's a cheat code for you, for sure. Once you figure out how to read the bumps.
Once you can go 2 minutes on foil.
Yeah. Once you figure out how to read the bumps and you know how to transition from wave to wave and peel off and when to race a wave and when to cut back and find the next one and do all that kind of stuff.
You don't race a wave. You just find yourself like going too fast to do anything about it.
To change course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once you get to that level, I think you should start investing more of your time and effort in the paddle skills.
Right.
Because you will have so much more fun specifically downwinding, but even anything else. Once that pod and all that that drag
That garbage is gone.
is out of the way. Yeah.
Not to mention walking to your car before and after the thing.
Getting your like weightlifting session and carrying that board, putting it up in the car, carrying it across the beach.
Now I'm excited for the Flightboard amp boards, because if they have that jet in a downwind board,
Right.
where there's no pod, there's no prop, there's no battery pack underneath the board, and they
Yeah.
can have it all centered in there and not that much extra weight there,
Yeah.
that could be pretty sweet.
But we also don't have any word on if we're going to be stocking those and how much they're going to cost. So we're not
So
going
if
to
we're
talk a
not
whole lot
stocking
about it.
about
We're not
them,
going to
then
talk a
they're
whole lot
terrible.
about them. Yeah, they could be trash.
Right, they're probably trash.
They're probably trash
unless we have
unless
them.
we get them
Yeah.
here at the shop. Then you should absolutely buy 2.
Got it.
Yeah, Christmas presents.
You heard it here.
Heard it here first.
Right, heard it here first. Too good.
All right.
Well, that was good. That was a good
That was good.
session.
Yeah. That was
Tune
it.
in next time.
Next
YouTubers.
one, we got more to talk about. Josh and I have a lot to talk about. I don't know what we're gonna call this thing yet. Don't get me started. Someone told me I should do a podcast.
But then you got to do the whole thing where you go, "Don't get me started."
You know what really grinds my gears?
You know what really chaps my ass?
Yeah. All right. Next time.
All right. Cool.